So let me answer the substance of it. Why this book, which is the human side of science? Why the human side of science? This book turns out to be the fourth in, what do you call the thing past a trilogy? A quadrilogy? Whatever that is.
A series.
A series.
It's a series of four. Okay, thank you. The first one, Charlie Wynn and I wrote a long time ago, and this is a book called The 5 Biggest Ideas in Science. This book is one, actually Charlie drafted this, and I think I edited it. But in any event, the point was, we wrote this years ago, and the idea was to try to tell people kind of what science was in terms of the ideas. What are the ideas of science? So this was about atoms and the Big Bang Theory and the plate tectonics model of the atom and DNA and things like that. So this is scientific ideas. Okay, ideas from the past. That's number one in the series.
Oh, let me see.
Sure.
Ask for him.
Number two in this series, a few years later, because we're busy working all the time too. This one says the 5 biggest unsolved problems in science. So what's this about? This is about the future of science. Because Charlie and I were both teaching at the time, and whenever you teach, you got students, and the students may ask questions. If they do, you're delighted, because then you can answer them and do various things. Fine. In many cases, they don't. They don't even ask the questions. But if you're a good teacher, you try to prepare for the questions, whether they ask them or not. So we're preparing this to say, in the future, these are going to be the kind of things that the scientists are going to be doing in years to come. Some of them, they've actually made progress on. Others, they haven't. They're still working on it. For example, why is the universe accelerating in its expansion? We still don't know. We have some ideas. We've called one whole batch of stuff, about 73% of the universe is made of it. We call it dark energy. What the devil is it? We don't know, but we gave it a name. So we got things that we can research, and that's what science does. More science ideas. So those two things were science ideas. So there we go. Charlie and I got together. Charlie lives in Connecticut. And so Charlie and I got together after that second book came out, and we talked about that a while, and said, well, what do we do next? And as we talked about it, we said, you know, we have a lot of science students. They're not scientists, they're science students who come to us with some preconceived ideas that are, how can I say this nicely? Wrong with a capital W.
Inaccurate.
Inaccurate, thank you. What's the word that starts with B? Well, never mind.
Balderdash.
Balderdash, that's it. Their ideas are balderdash. And so we decided to write a book that said some of the ideas that kick around that some people think are science aren't. They are not scientific at all. And so we call this one Quantum Leaps in the Wrong Direction. And this is about things like ESP and the columns you read in the newspaper about the horoscopes and so forth. It's not science. I mean, it's kind of, maybe it's interesting stuff and maybe kind of fun to read even, who knows. To me, it's an exercise in writing general things that may or may not apply. But in any event, that was the third book. That was what science isn't. So Charlie and I thought, well, we pretty much shot our wad, right? We talked about what science was, what science will be, what science isn't. What's next? Somehow, and this was more my idea than Charlie's at this point, it came to me, you know, we need to look at this from a perspective of who is it that's doing this? That is, who are the people that are involved in science? And so this book is written not from the standpoint of scientific ideas, but from the standpoint of the people that do the science, because the people, after all, we're it. I mean, the people do science, the people do everything, and that's what we're all about here. And so how about looking at how they cooperate with each other, because they do in many cases, or how they contend with each other, which they do in many other cases, or how do they connect with each other, because there's a lot of connections in science that go on and on. So that was the real crux of the matter with respect to this book. It's the people. In a sense, I think we've been always aiming at this book, because as Charlie and I both, and Sidney for that matter, the cartoonist as well, character, what a character he is, we like the people that make science go. And so this book has been fun for us. It looks at science from a different perspective. It's not the ideas, which are fabulous, certainly, but it's the people. and the stories. So this is people's stories. Scientific people, but nevertheless people, and how they operate to make science work. So we hear people tell us stories. We tell other people stories. We live them. This book is about stories. Now, I could tell stories about certain people in this audience right here and now. I thought you'd say, but I won't. And you may wonder, why are their stories not in here? That is, they're good stories, interesting stories. Some of them are good. Why are they not in here? And the answer is, this is a book about the stories about people who did very interesting things and became notorious in history for scientific stuff. So, had a pet elk. If you can imagine a pet elk. I mean, don't think of domesticated elks, but he had a pet elk, and this pet elk happened to develop a taste for drinking beer. And so here's this pet elk who likes to drink beer. The story is that Tycho got, you know the elk?
IPA.
IPAs. I never thought about that. That's what it is. So they went to this party, and he brought along his elk. And the elk drank so much beer that the elk collapsed, and that was the end of the elk. He was really unhappy as a result of that, Tycho. Now, is this science? Does that sound like science to you?
The elk should have gone to Alcoholics Anonymous.
Oh.
3 strikes, he's out.
Yeah,
That's two then,
that's
isn't it?
Two.
We play tennis every Friday, and I have to listen to that. So, that's good, though. I like to. You got this guy who tries
He
to
looks familiar.
pick up all the pieces after all these people who are famous and who are really good thinkers, and I'm just trying to tell their stories. I'm hoping to do a good job. So that's my goal in trying to write a book like this, and that's some of the stories.